Welcome back to Build Your Legacy Insurance Edition podcast. Today we've got a new episode with a new guest. And what I wanted to do here was bring back some of the conversation Travis and I had on episode 35. And that was perpetuation in an unfortunate event if the owner passes away. So today we got a special guest. We brought in Josh Harward from SIA Group. Josh, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Cool, man. Glad you're here. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I've been in the insurance business for, 15 years now. Started out in the individual space where I was working mainly on life insurance, buy-sell agreements, executive planning, disability, long-term care. And I realized if I go into the group space, I can help more people at one time. And I really like that model. So that's kind of where I'm at now.
Okay.
But I can still use some of that expertise that I gained back in the day to help with my groups.
Right.
So I think that's what we're here to talk today about.
Yeah. So what our podcast does a lot of times is we're talking to independent insurance agencies or people that want to be an independent insurance agency, but they're just businesses.
Right.
You know, at the end of the day, they're businesses and they have the same needs that a lot of businesses have. When we look at it, I knew you had the expertise. I knew you'd done it in the past. I know you still do it today with a lot of things with life insurance. So thought we just kind of hit it off here.
A lot of times what I've found out is it's kind of like the painter's house. You know, the painter's house is the one that really needs to be painted the most. Sometimes we, even being in insurance, we need to take a step back and take a look at our own personal situation. You know, I mean, it's ever evolving. We always think about buy, sell, and key man, and what if somebody dies, right? Well, there needs to be something that happens, but what if somebody doesn't die? What if they get permanently disabled? That's potentially more of a problem because you still have the expenses of that person. So that's another thing, kind of one more layer is disability on top of life insurance.
Let's unwrap all of it. And I agree with your point 100% because even in the property and casualty world, we see people that go sell cyber insurance, but may not have cyber insurance on their own insurance agency. Right. So, hey.
And we're all guilty of it to a certain extent. We're all guilty of looking at it. Like I just actually recently upped my life insurance policies. I've got 3 kids now, a stay-at-home wife. So I'm sitting here talking about it out in the public, and I'm like, maybe if something happened to my wife or something happened to me, we really need to take a look at this. Hey. So it's extremely important.
Awesome lead in. Lead in. So let's talk about it. Let's jump into it.
Okay.
I'm going to come back to disability. That's certainly a great point. Let's talk about life insurance. Let's talk about this owner. Let's pretend this owner is a one-person shop. No other partners. What's the steps?
I mean, when you talk about business continuation, there's kind of multiple layers of this. Like you got to have a plan in place to actually have your business continue. Like what do you want to have happen? And then you can decide whether or not you want to fund that agreement, right? Whatever that is, using money in the bank, other assets you have, or using a life insurance product. And then once you get into deciding if you want to use a life insurance, there's a bunch of different layers of types of policies too. Okay. It depends on if you want to look at just doing strictly like a term policy or something more along the lines of a permanent deferred comp type situation where you're using tax advantages. So it gets really deep and hairy. It's not just as simple as I just need to buy a life insurance policy. So
a good point. And I think what Travis and I tried to talk about a little bit in episode 35 and get people really thinking about was what do you want to happen?
That's right.
And I think that's, to your point, that's your first step. And if you're a single owner and if you're married or if you have family members, you probably need to bring them along for the ride here.
Absolutely. And a lot of people always ask me, like, what's the best type of life insurance to buy? And I'm like, the one that's enforced the day you die. I mean, honestly, I can't tell you like this because there's so many different ways to go about this. Like who is going to take over your business? How much money do they need? How much money do they have? You know, what happens if you and that person were to pass away at the same time? I mean, there's so many different layers that can get really complicated. But at the end of the day, you just need to ask questions. Okay. Ask yourself questions, ask your business partners questions, and then come up with some sort of solution.
Okay. So let's go back there because you just brought up business partners. My first question was kind of one of those of they don't have a partner, but let's pretend they do have a partner or partners.
Yeah.
What are those steps?
So let's just say it's just a 50-50 partnership, right? And it's like me and you, we're in a business together and one of us, we agree that if one of us dies, we're going to buy the other out. Okay. So we can have an agreement, a buy-sell agreement, and then we can determine if we're going to fund that agreement or not. We may have enough money in the bank, the business may be able to buy the other out, buy my spouse out, your spouse, and kids. That's one thing. And that's also ever
I would
evolving
assume
too.
that doesn't happen a lot, though. I would
It
assume that a
doesn't.
lot of businesses don't have this plethora of cash sitting there
That's
that hasn't
correct.
been dispersed.
That's correct. So typically they look at some sort of life insurance product,
Okay.
right? And then obviously there's a business evaluation to determine how much you need to actually buy that person out. But what I found in the past is people do that and they stick it in the bookshelf or in the safe.
They don't work
and
on
they
it
don't
forever.
look at it. Yeah, and they don't look at it. They don't change it. Their business grows, and next thing you do, something happens to them, and now
Well, how often should they look at it?
I mean, I would say just review it annually.
Okay.
At least. I mean, just take it just in your, maybe it's just a mental note.
Right.
In your head.
You don't have to change it, but you need to at least look at it and know it's there. Okay.
And have a conversation with because it could get lopsided. It could say one side of the business owners, value's gone way up versus the other one. I don't know.
Okay.
But I've been doing this long enough to know there's really no 100% clear cut right answer.
Yeah, I understand that.
That's the thing.
So you said that we picked on this if you and I are partners, 50-50.
Yeah.
What if there are either multiple partners or what if there is some difference in ownership portion? Maybe one's a majority and one's a minority.
Yep.
Does that change things?
It does. What I've found to be the most successful way to do this is to have the business buy all the life insurance
Okay.
on each of the owners, as opposed to me buying one on you, me buying one on the other owners, and having multiple policies in place. Just have the business buy the policy, own the policy, be the beneficiary of the policy, and then you have your agreement that spells out whatever happens if me and you were to pass away. Because if I pass away, I might not be as valuable as you, or vice versa. But your business plan could have that spelled out.
But they could buy it individually if they wanted
They
to.
could,
Personally, they could buy it.
They could absolutely. I could have a policy on you, you could have a policy on me.
And we kind of note that's what it's for.
That's right.
Like, hey,
That's right.
we've got that buy-sell agreement. I know I'm going to get the cash at said time.
Right.
And basically that would go to your estate, your spouse, whoever you've directed it to go to.
And then you can have agreements in place where if I buy a policy on you or you buy a policy on me and we were to just go our separate ways, we can have an agreement that says, hey, I can take that policy, or you can get it from me, I can get it from you, and you can take it and go on your way.
Okay.
So there's a lot of ways to do that.
Multiple partners, does it change things drastically that we need to talk about here? So if there's 3, 4, 10 different partners in an organization?
Yeah, it does. I mean, if you have, let's say, 10 different partners, like it's a law firm, for example, that's where it would get really hairy for you to buy an individual policy on every single one of those partners.
Okay.
It would be not cost effective.
That makes sense.
It would make more cost effective to have the business buy one on every person and then do it that way. But you can do it however you want. You can do split dollar arrangement where the company pays a portion and, the business owner pays some too, individually.
Yeah.
It just depends on what makes the most sense at the time.
Well, I think your key to start with is to have the plan.
Yeah.
Once you have the plan defined and you know what you need, then that's when you start going, okay, how do we get the money to take care of it if that event were to happen?
That's right.
But without a plan,
you have nothing.
you have nothing.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, you can't just go out and start buying. I mean, you can go out and just buy life insurance just to buy life insurance, but when you're talking about a business, it gets really complex. It's not just replacing one person's income. You're typically replacing the whole business's income, and because the business may shut down without that person. There's a lot of complexities to it. And then there's one more layer past that is once you get the plan in place, you get the policy in place, you got to look at your personal life ever evolving and changing. You may want to convert that policy to something permanent, maybe with some long-term care or something down the road that can still be used for you personally if something were to happen to you.
Okay.
And there's a lot to a life insurance that a lot of people don't think about. And that's why I really like it. It's really complex.
Well, and I think what we would say is they need to talk to somebody. They need to talk to a specialist. They need to talk to somebody that understands it. Maybe it's a business attorney for a plan, but then you need to consult with insurance agents, with tax attorneys, with all the appropriate people to get the right things done, to get what you need achieved.
Absolutely.
We're just here to help guide them and maybe get them thinking, no different than what you said about, we're doing things. Sometimes we got to step back and think about ourselves.
That's right.
We're kind of saying that here.
Yeah.
So Josh, anything else on the life insurance side? I mean, we've hit on, you got to have a plan and then you got to figure out how you fund your plan. Life insurance could be one of those pieces.
That's right.
Anything else you can think of on that specific topic?
I mean, obviously, like you said, you want to talk to a tax advisor because there are tax advantage ways to use life insurance.
Okay.
But yeah, I guess just having the plan, figuring out what you want your business to look like if something were to happen to you or your partner or that key person. And then after that, go in to talk to a professional that really knows, detailed life insurance, figure out what plan works best for you and implement.
Sounds
One thing
good.
we didn't really talk about is the underwriting on the life insurance. So that's a whole nother layer. You got to get approved for it.
Yeah.
But the good thing about what we do is if you have multiple business partners, we have guaranteed issue amounts, so we can get a policy for everybody without any health questions. So
Awesome.
that's kind of cool to think about too.
Cool. Well, Josh, I appreciate you coming today. You brought something up earlier about the disability, and I think what we're going to do is we're going to cut this episode. We're going to do a disability episode as well.
Sounds good.
And talk about that.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you. If you got any other topics, anything you'd like to hear from us, send us a note. Thanks for tuning in. You can catch our Build Your Legacy Insurance Edition podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. Be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, or send us over a topic recommendation at podcast@siaofnc.com. If you're interested in learning more about what we do, visit us online at www.siaofnc.com. We hope you enjoyed our newest episode. See you next week.